Hello again, everyone. I'm Gene Valicenti. This is Beyond the Podium, where we go one-on-one with the candidates. Brett Smiley is a Democrat running for mayor of Providence. In your own words, what differentiates you from your opponents?
I think when we pick a new mayor this year, I hope the voters will look at two things: priorities and experience. And my priorities are very clear: to focus on these core quality of life issues that are impacting residents in the neighborhoods. Everything from a safe neighborhood by restoring a sense of safety to our city, to high quality schools through holding the state accountable in the midst of this state takeover, and high quality city services where things get fixed the first time the right way. And my experience is that I'm the only candidate running for mayor this year who's ever managed budgets or people of this scale, who's ever negotiated a labor contract, who's already managed city operations. I have the experience to hit the ground running and be ready to go on day one.
Explain what you see as the most important issue facing Providence.
The city has some pretty significant underlying financial challenges that's making it harder for us to do everything we want to do, whether it's fixing streets and sidewalks, improving the quality of our schools, or making real investments in young people. All of those things cost money. And so we need a mayor who is financially savvy and experienced to meet these financial challenges head on, to work with the colleges and the private colleges and hospitals to ensure that they pay their fair share, to address the city's underfunded pension problems, and to manage a balanced budget after all of this one-time federal money evaporates, because these financial challenges will either make it impossible to accomplish all these other things, or someone who knows what they're doing and is ready to lead can actually become an opportunity to put the city on an entirely new, sustainable path going forward.
How are you uniquely qualified to address that particular issue?
It comes back to experience. Having served as Providence's chief operating officer, the state's director of administration, and chief of staff to Governor Raimondo, nobody has the experience that I have in actually having written and passed budgets in the billions, managing a city workforce of over 4,000, a state workforce of 14,000, negotiating with labor unions at the city and state level. My experience in government, and particularly my time with Governor Raimondo, has uniquely qualified me to be ready to go on day one.
What's an example of a policy or issue that you've changed your mind on over the past 20 years? You felt one way about something, now you feel differently.
Well, I never thought I would have been in favor of giving up control of the city schools. But having been involved in city politics and city government, starting with Mayor Cicilline, I saw that the changes and the revolving doors of superintendents, and even through different mayors, many of whom I think were good mayors and I was proud to have worked for, we just weren't able to make real changes that improved outcomes for students and families, which is the only thing that should matter. And so in 2016, Governor Raimondo decided to take this big step to take over the Providence Public Schools with the city's participation, because the state has resources that the city does not. Those changes haven't come into effect yet, and that's why I'm so focused on making sure that the next governor delivers on the promises that were made.
What question do you wish someone would ask you?
I think it's worth asking, what kind of mayor do you actually want? And because I think running for mayor or electing a mayor is very different than electing a legislator, where, at least when I vote for a legislator, either in Congress or at the State House, I'm looking for someone who's going to fight for my values, that I believe is going to stand up for my values. But when we hire a mayor, we're looking for someone who is the CEO of the 6th largest employer in Rhode Island, 4,000 employees, and actually day-to-day running this city. And that, to me, is a very different job. But I think it's worth having a conversation with voters about, what do we want out of our mayor? What kind of mayor do we hope to have? And what do we think the job act really is?
Who's your political hero and why?
I've had a chance to work for quite a few politicians who have done a great job. Ideologically, I've shared many of the views that Governor Raimondo had, but I will say that as mayor, I look at Mayor Menino in Boston, who used to call himself an urban mechanic, And that's the kind of mayor I want to be, which is to not get distracted by federal issues or certain kind of national social issues, but rather really focus on running a better city, on making things work. And that's the kind of mayor I want to be.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
When I was a young campaign staffer in 2003, I was staffing a woman who was running for Congress, and we met with another congresswoman in the Chicagoland area. And she said to my boss at the time, she said, there's two kinds of people who run for office. There's the kind of people who want to be someone and the kind of people who want to do something. Which kind are you? And I remember that moment like it was yesterday. And that has always been advice that I have kept near and dear to my heart, which is if I was ever going to run for something, I wanted to be someone who wanted to do something, as opposed to just someone who wanted to be someone.
Get to know your candidates as we go beyond the podium. Watch the entire interview on turnto10.com. Just click on the Decision 2022 tab.